Let's be honest for a second. The methodology section, it's usually the part of a research paper we're all tempted to just scroll right past. But here's the thing, it's secretly the most important part of the entire paper. It's the engine room, really, the place where credibility is either built or completely lost. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Tazim Shahbaz, and I am so glad you're here. My goal is to help you navigate the world of research and AI's role in it. So if you get something valuable out of this, please do subscribe to the channel for more. Okay, let's just dive right in. So what even is a research methodology? Well, think of it as the absolute bedrock of your study. It's the how-to guide that lays out every single step you took. Its job is to make your whole process transparent, so anyone can see exactly how you got your results. I absolutely love this analogy. If your research is, say, a chocolate cake, then your methodology is the recipe. You've got to list every single ingredient, every precise measurement, the exact oven temperature, the baking time, everything. Because if you leave something out, nobody else can bake your cake. In research, we call that reproducibility, and trust me, it's the gold standard. So before you can start writing that recipe, you have to decide what kind of dish you're making in the first place. And in research, that usually means choosing between two main paths, quantitative or qualitative. So what's the difference? Well, quantitative research is all about numbers. It's where you're collecting numerical data so you can test a hypothesis or maybe make some predictions. Think surveys with rating scales or lab experiments where you're measuring outcomes. Qualitative research, on the other hand, deals with stuff that isn't numbers, like interview transcripts or observations. The goal there is totally different. It's about deeply understanding human experiences, finding patterns in language, and uncovering themes. Okay, so keeping those two paths in mind, let's get to the good stuff, the blueprint. Whether you go quantitative, qualitative, or even a mix of both, a really solid methodology is going to have these 10 essential parts. Let's break them down. First up, your research design. This is your big picture strategy. Then you clearly state your research method. Are we talking quantitative or qualitative? And super important, you explain why you chose it. Next, you list your research instruments. These are your tools, like surveys or interviews. And finally, you detail your sampling plan, which is just how you decided who or what you were going to study. And the blueprint continues with the real nuts and bolts. You have to lay out your exact data collection process and your plan for data analysis. You also need to be totally upfront about your research limitations. Then you've got to prove your study has validity and reliability, basically that your results are accurate and consistent. And last but certainly not least, you have to cover all the ethical considerations to show you did your work responsibly. Okay, if you remember just one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. Just listing those 10 things, that's not enough. The absolute golden rule is that you have to justify every single choice. You have to constantly ask yourself why. Why did you pick a qualitative method instead of a quantitative one? Why use a survey and not an in-depth interview? Why did you pick 50 people for your study and not 500? Answering these questions shows your reader that you didn't just stumble into your decisions, you designed your study thoughtfully. At the end of the day, this is what it all boils down to. Your justification is what convinces the reader that you chose the absolute best way to tackle your research question. That's what builds trust and makes your findings so much more powerful. All right, theory is great and all, but let's see what this actually looks like out in the real world. We're going to peek at a couple of excerpts from real published papers to see how researchers handle all this. First up, a quantitative study. This one's about how leaves decompose in a tropical forest. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to how they talk about the main tool they used to gather their data. Did you see that? It's brilliant. These researchers are openly admitting that their tool, these things called litter bags, has some known issues. But here's the kicker. By being so upfront and honest about these limitations, they aren't making their paper weaker. They're actually making it stronger because they show they know their stuff and they're being transparent. That builds a ton of credibility. Okay, now for a qualitative example, this study was trying to understand how people on Twitter think about their audience. Just watch how they justify their sampling strategy. And there it is. A perfect illustration of that golden rule of justification. They say it right out. Hey, we weren't trying to get a sample that represents all Twitter users. Their goal was totally different. They wanted to hear a whole bunch of diverse points of view. They picked a sampling method that fit their goal perfectly, and then they explained that choice. It's textbook. So, after going through the whole blueprint and seeing it in action,
What's the main thing you should walk away with?
It's really this. Your methodology is not just some boring chapter you have to slog through. It is the very foundation of your entire project. Making it strong, keeping it transparent, and justifying your choices, that's what separates flimsy research from findings that people can actually trust and build on. And remember that lesson from the litter bag study. Please, don't be afraid of your limitations. Pointing them out doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look like a confident, credible, and honest researcher who truly understands the boundaries of their own work. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on for your own research. Think about the method you're using or planning to use. What is its single biggest weakness or limitation? And what steps are you going to take to address it? Or at the very least, acknowledge it? Answering that question honestly is your first step to building a truly fantastic methodology.